So good evening, everybody. This is Melissa Muhammad from the Black and Global Business Network, and we're really excited to have a great presentation for you all tonight. I am happy to share information from Lisa Phillips, and Lisa is going to tell us about the Minority Business Development Export Specialty Center, who she is, what she does, and I think that it's a great opportunity for us to look at the resources that she has and how you can reach out to her and work with her. We do very, very similar work. And I think that her services are, well, she can tell you what her services are and what the cost is not. So she can tell you about that. And you can feel free to reach out to her. I think it's a great resource and a great collaboration. So Lisa, welcome, and Veronica, welcome.
Thank you so much, Melissa, and thank you for having us and being patient with me through my busy schedule, being an operator of the MBDA Export Center. And also I want to introduce my colleague, the project director, Veronica. If you can wave your hand a little
everyone.
bit. Yes,
Hi, Veronica.
yes. And please excuse me tonight. I've just been a little bit under the weather. I am feeling better, but you can hear it in my voice a little. So I just want to go ahead and start fresh and let you know, give you a little background about myself, and then I will introduce the Houston MBDA Export Center. So I've been an exporter for 19 years. I started this business from scratch. I was told that I couldn't do it because exporting was a business that was grandfathered down to you. If you weren't in it before, then someone told me, you cannot get into that industry. It's only certain people in that industry. And that was my very first workshop that I was at, and someone told me that. And when they told me that, I said, okay, whatever. And I turned on my heels and I walked away. I'm at a workshop with a bunch of people that do not look like us. And then it was only one other Black person that came up to me and started talking to me. So again, I just didn't let that, I didn't let that get under my skin because I knew what I was there to do. And I'm very focused. I'm very laser focused. So that was the beginning of me. That was the beginning of my journey. That first workshop where somebody told me I couldn't do it. And basically, they wanted to say, you don't belong here. But anyway, I know different. So my journey started with doing the research, doing the homework. You have to do the legwork, just like anything else. Doing the legwork with buying a new car, doing the legwork with buying a new home. It takes for you doing your research to know what you're getting, what you're buying, what your money's spent on. Well, this is no different. It really isn't. So I just did the homework for about a year and a half, and I was working on my MBA at the time. So about 6 months prior to me getting my MBA, I was working on my first export transaction of a 40-foot container of general merchandise, consumer goods to the Middle East, to Saudi Arabia. So I proved that I could do it. And I said, well, you know what, this is cool. And I just, stayed with it. So my business went down a little bit. You will go through hiccups, just like anything. You go through hiccups in a marriage, you go through hiccups with your car. Just, again, you just got to keep going. Don't let things deter you. So the business went down a little bit in the Middle East for specific reasons, it just happens. So I took a step back and I went back to what I know. I am from the oil and gas industry. I'm in Texas. So anytime you're in Texas, someone in your family or friends, someone has worked in the oil and gas industry. I was working in the oil and gas industry. My husband was in the oil and gas industry. And when my son graduated from college, he was in the oil and gas industry. So that is my background. So in regards to exporting, we went back to what we know, and that is oil and gas. So we went on a trade mission with the city of Houston, and we met a buyer, and that buyer, they have your profile when you go overseas. That buyer knew our background from our profile, and it was oil and gas. So that buyer gave us a pilot opportunity, And he says, look, I'm gonna let you do this for 6 months. If you prove yourself, then I will give you a 5-year contract. And we did. And from that contract, we were shipping over 400,000 pounds of chemicals used to liquefy natural gas per month. So that was a
Wow.
pretty good, yeah, that was a pretty good contract. We did that for about 16 years straight.
But
So
you went on a trade mission with the government, with the city government.
well, with the city of Houston, yes, it was with
Okay.
the city of Houston, and that was different. We've never gone on a trade mission with the city of Houston, but our city does trade missions.
Mm-hmm.
You know, Houston is a large city, and you know, yes, the city of Houston, they do trade missions. So that was our very first trade mission. So from there, you know, we were doing that. We were also shipping industrial equipment. We were working with oil and gas companies, petrochemical companies, liquid natural gas companies, feed and food stock companies. And we also own our own assets to transport these bulk chemicals. So from there, I did that for about 16 years straight, and then I diversified a little bit. I did government contracting. We were shipping to different countries, the Middle East, East, West, and South Africa, the Caribbean, also to Europe, the Netherlands. So the one thing I want you to understand, once you start exporting and you do good and you develop that relationship with that buyer, he is going to refer you to other buyers. And that's how we got into other countries. They loved working with us because we were easy to work with. There was no red tape. We were working with we were doing the same thing as one of the major oil and gas companies. But what happened is they needed a redundant source. And of course, a small business does not have all that red tape that a major oil and gas company has. And the oil and gas company, once we started working alongside them, we would work on Christmas. Say, for instance, the company had a shutdown, then we were there, you know. Oil and gas company, they're going home, don't call me. But that was not us. So you have to be there and work with these companies that rely on you when they need you. It could be Christmas, it could be New Year's. We did not mind doing that. We were there for them. And that's what put us above some of the other companies. You know, we were able to pivot. If they had a shutdown, if they had an accident, they were able to pick up the phone, call us 2, 3 o'clock in the morning, and we were able to do that. So basically, we were working for a company. They said to us, look, if we don't have this product, we are losing $5 million a day. Can you do this? And I just brought a team together and we did it. So again, building a relationship with that with that buyer is really key, because when that buyer likes you, he is going to refer you to his buddies, to his friends, whether it's in that country in which you are operating, it could be in another country. So that is really important. So doing that for 19 years. So I kind of not moved away from the oil and gas industry, but when the economy takes a shift and changes, you better take a shift and change too. And that's what allowed us to diversify the business. So we started doing government contracting, still doing exporting, but when it slows down, you better diversify. And that's what we did. We diversified, still exporting though, but not as robust as we were exporting. So then I saw this grant. And when I read this grant for the MBDA, I basically ignored the grant. I ignored it. I kept deleting it. I couldn't push that button. I said, my goodness. Then it was a Friday after work, and the email came up again. And I said, you know what? Let me just look at this. And when I read the email about a grant to teach women and minorities how to export, it was my story. And I said, I've got to do this. You know, this is me. I've got to, you know, give back to all the people that helped me in this business. Got to give back. And that's what made me go after the grant. I won the grant. And it's basically because I was a woman, African-American woman, in a male-dominated industry, exporting. And I believe that's why I won the grant, because I had past performance with what they were asking to do, bring in more minorities, help minorities to export. So that's it with the MBDA. Now, what is the MBDA? The Minority Business Development Agency. Minority Business Development Agency, I am under that umbrella. I am a specialty center, like Melissa said. But basically, Minority Business Development Agency is the only minority agency within the federal government. So you have all of these different business centers, you have specialty centers, you have manufacturing center, you have procurement center, and then of course you have my center, which is the export center. And we are bound by some of the guidelines. But Melissa, what I want to do right now, since I've introduced the Minority Business Development Agency and the network of centers, I'll go ahead and go down the line of questions that you gave me. And that's going to basically be a presentation. That is basically the presentation, all the questions that you had for me. So I told you about
Lisa,
the minority.
if I can add one other thing I think that's key about your center is that it's the only center that is not only run by a Black person, but that is in a city where you have a large Black population, because you have Miami, right? There's one in Miami.
Yes.
There's one in San Antonio. In San Antonio.
Yes, San Antonio. Yeah.
Right.
And then there's Phoenix, and the one that's in Phoenix is run by Native American.
Right.
So that's their focus, helping the Native American population.
Right.
And of course, San Antonio. But I don't really want to say it that way, because MBDA, we have groups that we can work with. So the groups that we work with, even though it's run, but Miami, Marie is African American.
She is, right, and she is from Jamaica.
Right.
She's from Jamaica, but a lot of their clients, right, are from Hispanic areas. And so what I think, yeah, they're in Miami. Right. Yes. But what I think is key, one of the key factors is that you all can service companies. Well, let me let you tell them. Are you limited to a geographical region?
No, okay. My clients are around the United States.
Right.
And actually, when I came aboard, you are correct by asking that question, because each center had different geographies.
Right.
And me, because I've been an exporter, and because I've exported to the Middle East, because I've exported to Africa and the Caribbean, I felt the need not to select a specific region, because it's like, I've exported all these places. I'm not going to choose a region. If someone comes to me, if someone came to me, they wanted to export to Bangladesh. My client is in Bangladesh right now. I have another client. Hey, Lisa, I got a project in Kenya. He's in Kenya. So how can I target? That was strange to me. They didn't make me do it. So I did not select a specific region.
Right. So that's one thing I think that's so great, that you can work with anybody wherever they are in the country. And so I think that is a great asset for everybody, to not feel that because she's in Texas that you have to be limited. Wherever you are in the country, you can reach out to Lisa. So I'm sorry, go ahead. I just wanted to point that out.
No, that's okay. So the groups that I am allowed to work with is, of course, African American, Hispanic American, also Asian American, Indian American, also one of the, it's Asian Pacific Hawaiian, also Alaskan, did I say that? And Indigenous, Native American Indian. And I think that's it. It's like 7 groups. So I can work with all of those groups. But for me, African Americans are the least in this industry.
Mhm.
And when I get someone African American, I really, really do try my hardest to work with them because, and that's one of the reasons why I went after this grant too, because I knew if I didn't go after it, someone else would, and that someone else may not look like me.
Mhm. Mhm.
And, you know, it made me say, well, why not you, Lisa?
Mhm.
Why not?
And I'm
And
very excited for them to know the name of your business. You forgot to tell us. You forgot to say the name of your business, Lisa, that you ran for 19 years. How could you forget that?
I know, I know, I know. So the business that I started when I was talking about when I was aggressively exporting is Hibis International LLC. And Hibis means help your brothers and sisters. And Melissa, I'm glad you brought that up because I grew up on the East Coast. I'm originally from New Jersey. So basically, when I formed the company in that name, I kept going back to what my father would always tell us as a child, because I'm one of seven, and he would always say, you know what, help your brothers and sisters. You've got to help one another. I'm not promised to always be in your life. I don't know when I'll leave this earth, but I expect you to help one another.
Mhm.
So I came up with the letters. That's the only thing that kept coming to my mind, help your brothers and sisters. And then I just created those letters, HYBAS, help your brothers and sisters. Now, Melissa, everyone, when I won this grant, that didn't even come to my mind at all. It wasn't until weeks later when I was stressed out about something, I said, oh my gosh. I said, who knew? I created this name, and basically that's what I'm doing.
Mhm.
It's like, you know what I mean? It's like,
Mhm.
it really came to fruition how this all played. And I tell people all the time, what I did in the oil and gas industry and the opportunities I had and the money we made, that was nothing. To me, that was a stepping stone to get me here.
Mhm.
That's what I truly believe. It's like, how did I get here? I never dreamed that I would be doing this. And I
Mhm.
truly believe I was placed in those other positions to learn how to export, to go through some of the pain points, some of the successes, and just dealing with people in the industry that believed that I should not have been in the industry. It was preparing me for this.
You know, Lisa, I love your story because your story, I think, is not only relatable, but it's probably something that some of our companies, as they export, that they're going to face. And I think that you're a great example of overcoming that. And we really wanted to highlight our people who are very successful in exporting as an example to say that there are those of us who are in this business and there are examples of successful Black-owned businesses that are exporting. And Lisa is a great resource for you to reach out to ask questions of, to look for support to. So I'm really happy that we're able to showcase your work because I think that it's pivotal that our community knows what you're doing and what you have done.
Yeah, I've kind of been the best kept secret. I really have. And you know, sometimes we got to move quietly. And I'm telling you, that oil and gas industry, you do not see us in that industry. I know that that was put in my path for a reason. I
Mhm.
mean, I know it was. We did very well in that industry, and they weren't so mean. They, as in the other people who we know who are in the industry, they weren't mean. They just didn't know what to do with me.
Mhm.
I just did Lisa. And that's what I'm telling everybody. Once you have something in your path and you believe in it and you want to do it and achieve it, you just do you. I was very focused. I aligned myself with people who had positive energy. There were people of all walks of life that helped me. And then there were the people that didn't quite understand how we got in that industry. So again, I ran the business. I started the business. 2 years later, my husband left his oil and gas job. He joined me. My kids have been working with me since they were in elementary school. So it was basically a family-owned business. And once you develop a relationship with buyers overseas, they are going to protect you. They want you to succeed as much as they are succeeding. And those are the people you need to look for. You need to look for people to do business with, people who care about you personally and people who care about you professionally. The buyers that I work with, they cared for me. If they see a storm going on here in the United States and they know I'm in Houston, they will pick up that phone. It could be 3 o'clock in the morning. Lisa, I hear you're having a hurricane. Do you need to get out? Do we need to help you get out? I got a cousin in Colorado. Do you need to come? So anyway, the experiences have been good. They really have. And the reason why I went overseas doing business is because I was trying to piggyback back some of these oil and gas companies and work with them here in the US. I was trying to work with them here in the US. I couldn't do it.
Yes.
They did not give me that chance. So you know what? I worked with Exxon. I worked with Exxon in Nigeria. I worked with Shell.
Yes.
I worked with Shell in the Netherlands.
Yes.
You know what I mean? I'm working with oil and gas companies that are American oil and gas companies headquartered here. I couldn't work with them here, but I'm overseas.
Yeah.
It's like that front door didn't open, but that back door is open and you go through it.
Exactly. We're actually doing that. That's what we find, Lisa. So we actually, with the American companies that are overseas, because what we've done is with the MBE certification through NMSDC, now we are, for our companies that are selling to foreign American, well, I shouldn't say American companies operating in other countries, they can, that US company can get credit for that diversity spend by working with our companies. And so we created that relationship, and because we found exactly what you're saying. Whereas these companies, you may not be able to get a contract or foot in the door in the US, but when you go overseas, it's sad, but it's very true. But the other point is the resources that we utilize in order to open the doors overseas are much different. And so I find that when we work through the embassies and we have our companies to go through that process, the embassies will open the doors at that US company operating in other countries. And then our companies can step right through, so that we do the same thing.
Well, you know what? You bring something up, that the US company can get diversity spend when you're doing business overseas. I mean, I guess that's okay, but why not utilize the diversity spend by doing business with me here? We were born in America. Born in America.
I know. It sounds, I don't disagree with you, but everything we do is international. So as we don't focus on the domestic side of things, what we wanted to happen was, as our businesses are going to other countries, like, for example, I'll tell you, it's 15 American tech companies that are operating in Italy. And we wanted our businesses to be on these contracts that they have in Italy. And so we just approached NMSDC about this concept, and they thought it was a great idea. And we worked on it. And so even though it would be awesome, and I'm sure that, someone on the domestic side can do that, all we do is international. And so we wanted those companies to be able to get credit for contracting with our businesses.
Well, let me ask you a question. So NMSDC, and we have the Houston Minority Supplier Diversity Council here. I belonged to that council for years, for about 12 years. And I don't belong to the council anymore, but of those years, that's what I tried to do. I tried to you know, crack that code and do business with the um the corporations that were corporate members
Mhm.
of the National Council.
Right.
And I mean, I didn't leave. What happened? They lost my paperwork, the database, something happened where the database crashed and they wanted me to reapply to become a member. And so I'm thinking, well, wait a minute, I'm paying membership all these years. I've never gotten any business through the council, and I just did not reapply again. But all minority councils are different.
Yeah.
So yours in Maryland may be different than, than mine. But mine, again, I try to align myself with, coming up in business. You align yourself with the organizations that can help your business, right?
Mm-hmm.
Whether it's WeBank, whether it's WIP, whether it's any of those organizations, you know where you want to go. And if they're not there, then you're spinning your wheels. So basically, that's what happened to me. Our council was not there with the exporting for all of those years.
Mm-hmm.
And so I had to, like you said, we just went overseas. It's like, this door doesn't seem like it's going to open.
Mm-hmm.
So you have to go through the door that is open. And like you said, you go overseas, you work with the embassy or the State Department, because that's what our government wants. Our government wants more people exporting. And just to make another point, we are behind. Our country is behind in exporting.
Very.
So how can you exclude anybody? You really shouldn't be excluding anybody.
Mm-hmm.
It should be inclusive, but in this industry, and Melissa, I know people operate in their own little separate silos.
Mm-hmm.
And what is it doing? It's hurting America.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And that's why we use the roadmap process. That's why we go to all of the different offices, so that you can understand the full breadth of resources that are available for you, because it is in silos. And that's why we curate all of the information in one location, so that our businesses can go there instead of doing the government shuffle. And that's also why when you're in the incubator and the accelerator, we do the hand holding. Every little step, it's, we're telling you the next step for you to go, so that you don't have to try to go and figure all of this out on your own. And then the other thing for us is, because we manage relationships at the national level, when our companies don't get that support at the local level, like you're talking about, which unfortunately happens quite a bit, we don't get return phone calls, we don't get return emails. And our companies, they're busy professionals running businesses, so they don't have time to run behind, these government officials to get the support that they need. But that's why we're there. That's the service that we do, so that they don't have to run behind these businesses. Run behind these government officials.
Well, it's me learning how to export. I will tell you this. I had a really good experience 19 years ago. When I walked into any of the government agencies, they didn't turn me away. I guess because it was different. And I started exporting during the Bush administration. And the Bush administration was really into Africa. I probably got emails and phone calls about me doing business in Africa for about 3 years before I just decided to say yes. And it wasn't for any specific reason. I think my reason was because Africa was so far away. I was used to doing business in the Caribbean and a little bit closer. And when they kept asking me to go to Africa, they said, no, we just want you. We don't want your husband. We want you. You are the owner and the executive person of the company. And I think with me, I was so used to flying with my family. It would be my husband and my 2 boys. And see, my husband is from another country. So he can get on a plane and that's what he does. And that's what he did with the company that he worked for. He was very well traveled. So I was used to, just everybody being there when they said, look, we want you to go to Africa. When I tell you I got on that plane, it was even before I got on the plane. I was in the car boo-hooing all the way to the airport. My husband just drove me. He said, you'll be fine. He didn't pay me no attention. He just drove me to the airport. And then, he got my luggage out of the car, hugged me, got back in the car and took off. And I was still crying. Then I got on the airplane crying. And then, okay, so I'm going to cut this story. I cried on the way back. So the airline stewardess said, are you okay? Can we get you something? Are you sick? I was crying because I was sad that I was leaving Africa. And then I was sad because I was a little mad at myself because it took me so long to go to Africa.
Mm.
I was a hot mess.
Mm.
I mean, it was the best experience. Africa was the best experience. And then when you get to Africa and you have that one person that tells you welcome home,
Yeah.
you're almost done with yourself.
Yes.
You know what I'm talking about,
yeah,
right?
I know exactly what. Let me tell you, for mine, I went over 2008, and it was the year President Obama was running, and I think it was '08, whatever the year was he was running, and literally we were out somewhere, and I stepped in. So I'm an international tax lawyer, so I'm working with multinationals that want to sell onto the continent, or the best way to get your money in and get your money out and that kind of stuff. So we're out, we go into a warehouse. Listen to me, a warehouse. I walk into this warehouse and everybody in the warehouse starts saying, yes, we can. Yes, we can. Yeah. And I'm looking at these people like, how do they know I'm American? Yeah, the Obama, they get the Obama. But it was mind blowing and that's the main thing that they said to me when they were chanting about Obama, which was welcome home. It was so beautiful.
Oh my
I had the
gosh,
same
yes.
experience. Yeah.
Yes, and you don't expect that. It's your first time in Africa, and you know what? You don't even have to say, you resonate with it.
Mm-hmm.
You automatically know where they're coming from. And I'm saying that because I remember, you watch TV. I've heard Alicia Keys saying, oh my gosh, I went to Africa and it's so beautiful. It's so, and then you hear somebody else and you hear somebody else. And I used to hear people say, yeah, whatever. And gosh, you feel like you're home. And I'm like, whatever. I said that listening to them on TV until I went.
Right. Yep.
It's like, oh my gosh.
Yeah.
You know why they expressed that passion and that feeling that they did, because here it is.
Mm-hmm.
It's happening to you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So great, Lisa. We're at 8:05, so we're going to open up for questions in about 10 minutes. So do you want to tell them about MBDA and what you do at your center in any more details?
Yes. So the MBDA, like I said, I do have the guidelines. I've explained to you that the MBDA, the umbrella, which is under the Department of Commerce, it's the only government agency in the federal government. There's business centers, there's manufacturing centers, and of course me, the manufacturing center, along with the other 3 centers. I've explained to you the diverse groups that we are allowed to work with. So basically, with my center, of course, you have to be a US citizen. You have to have a registered business. You also have to, with my program, you must be export ready. So Melissa, with your program, you said you handhold people every step of the way.
Yeah.
With my program, they want me working with $1 million businesses. They have $1 million revenue. They want me working with companies that are export ready. So what does that mean? What does export ready mean? Export ready means that you have inventory. You want to scale your business. You know the country that you want to export to. You have the money to export because I'm going to tell you, and most of you already probably know, exporting can be cash intensive and labor intensive, depending on what you export. Now, I was in the oil and gas industry. That's a cash cow. Whereas I've also exported equipment where it wasn't so much of a cash cow, because what I was doing, we had probably about 10 bulk 20,000-pound containers back to back. One comes in, one goes out. One, sometimes four goes in, four come back. So we were supplying this client with chemicals used for their day-to-day business. And like he said, that business, we don't receive this, our business shuts down. So again, with my program, they do want you to be export ready. They do want you to not be a startup, not have an idea, know a little bit about the export industry, but have that capital ready. Because when you start doing business with a client overseas, a customer overseas, or a buyer, if you miss the mark because you don't have the money, that's an opportunity that you may lose.
Mhm.
So you have to have your ducks in a row. And that's what the government wants me to do. They want me to work with export ready companies, probably because they want to hit those marks really good. These programs are government funded,
Mhm.
and they have to report to Congress and report to what other agency, the Treasury Department, or what other agency is giving them money. They have to report that. We gave Lisa a grant to do this export process with her center. And oh, by the way, this is who she's working with. And oh, by the way, these are the amount of people that are exporting.
Mhm.
It can be a process. It's not an overnight success.
But it
But
is,
I'm here to tell you it can be done.
yes,
It can be
exactly.
done.
And we work with companies before that, Lisa. We work with companies, and that's why it's important for us that they know about you, because they don't need to stay with us forever, right? We're going to get them globally ready. We're going to train them. We're going to help them get their paperwork together. We use the the NMSDC certification as a benchmark for them to build their internal controls, because you have to have your business operating well and internal systems
Yes.
operating well before you start exporting. And then we take them through all of the different government agencies, and then we help them with capital readiness. We get them ready before they go and get any type of capital. We help them to, before you need money, before you need money, we make sure that you work to get a line of credit or get your loan together, so that when you start to export, and we work with small transactions. And that's one of the other things that we find, is that there's not a lot of support for the smaller transactions. So like with Exim Bank, we can do projects that are $2,500 a month. 30,000, I mean, 20, yeah, a month, 30,000 a year. We can work with small transactions, because what we find is, once you start to deliver on a contract, it's exactly what you said. When you deliver, and you're delivering well, and you have the proof and the performance, the numbers will skyrocket exponentially from there. But for us, we make sure that our businesses are what we call global ready, meaning that all of your domestic ducks are in a row, and we show your domestic performance and what you're able to do. You have to be very clear on what you're selling. We do what we call an XYZ formula. I am selling Y to Z, to be really clear about what it is that you're selling. And so we get them ready for you, Lisa, because we're going to get them to be those $1 million companies, so that they can come over to you and utilize your resources.
And like I said, it's nothing to be discouraged about, because once you meet that buyer that wants to do business with you, it's on.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, we were just going and blowing. with those tanks. And we proved ourselves, and it's a beautiful feeling. It really is. You're making money with an international business that you would never do in your own country.
Mm-hmm. It's the truth.
It's worth it. It's worth putting all of your strength and your heart and your soul. If this is what you really want to do, because that's what I did. Once I started this process, you couldn't stop me. You couldn't tell me, hey, you can't do that. Hey, you can't get into the oil and gas industry, because all you need is that one
That's right.
buyer to give you a chance.
Right.
Just one. And that's what we had. We had that one buyer to say, you know what? I like you. I want to work with you. This is what I want you to do. Can you do it?
Mm-hmm.
And showed us the way.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, just think about anybody in your life, not this export thing, but think about maybe school or on your job, someone that just put they embraced you and said, I want to help you. This is what I'm going to do for you. And that's what made me go after this grant, because I've had white, I've had Black, I've had Indian, I've had Asian, I've had Arab, I've had every walk of life who helped me in this journey.
Awesome. Well, thank you, Lisa. That has been great, fantastic. So thank you for sharing your example with us. So we're going to open the floor up for questions. And if you have any questions, you can feel free to raise your hand, or I'll recognize you. And we're going to ask Lisa some questions.
Hello, guys. Hi, Lisa. You know, we're both from Houston. Lisa, I spoke to you before, and I told you I was going to go back and work with Black and Global. So I'm so happy to see you have made it to their platform. You know, and glad that you guys
I
are
thought I
connected.
recognized your name.
Yeah, yeah, Ship Black. But and then you addressed, you know, the part that I was going to have a question by, but I did wanted to just say, you know, hi, and that I am working, you know, in the best hands of Black and Global, and hope to, you know, have you in, you know, in the future, be able to have those sales and the experience needed to work with your company, because I think you're doing great work here in Houston.
Oh, thank you so much. And once again, I've had some pain points, but I've had a lot of successes. And like I said, just stay focused, stay laser focused. There's nothing more important than developing a relationship with that buyer overseas. And one of the things that we did also too, we would go overseas a lot.
Mm-hmm.
People want to see who they're doing business with.
Mm-hmm.
People want to, they want to know you, and they can't know you on the internet. Your body language, just the way you move, that's building a relationship. So basically, you're able to interview that buyer as much as he's able to interview you, because there were people I meet overseas and I'm like, I don't know about them. Just fast talking, you know? I don't like fast talkers. And then this one guy, because I was a woman, he felt like he could maybe talk the price up on my end, whereas we weren't meeting in the middle. So I just let him talk. And I said, you know what? In your country and in my country, we work to earn a living, and we will meet in the middle, or else we will not do business. Make sure you are making money, and don't be afraid to walk away from an opportunity where you see that buyer wants more than you are making.
Mm-hmm.
Don't be afraid, because another opportunity will come your way.
You're talking about one of our courses, Lisa. We call it Negotiate Like a Pro, and and that's my specialty. We teach them that, because it's results. You want to make money at the end of the day, and we teach them how to set their price point as they're negotiating their contracts. Because, you know, there's so many inputs into the price, and you have to know all of, if you're doing physical materials, the shipping, the contain, all of these different aspects that are input. So what you're talking is so up the alley for what we ensure that our members know.
Right. Well, what I told this gentleman, the last thing I said to him was, I said, well, I just need to tell you this. Nothing is free in your country or my country. And after that, he knew he couldn't get what he wanted from me. He just knew. So he just left me alone.
Mm. Awesome. Thank you, Tiffany.
You're
Next-
welcome.
Thank you, Tiffany. Nice to
Next-
see you.
Yeah, somebody did me a very good favor. She talked about, when I say she, I mean Lisa talked about looking out. I don't remember what your acronym was, but anyway, helping your brothers and sisters, helping your sisters and brothers.
Mhm.
Well, somebody helped me because I had fallen asleep. And I just want to let you all know that I do know how to act. And my falling asleep was not personal to anyone. And, they say that even when people are leaving the world, that their hearing is the last thing to go. And so I heard what you said, and I wanted to thank you for being a part of Black Global on tonight and for your presentation. I did hear what you had to say, and I am a person that listens. And not only do I like what I heard, I like how I heard it, because you can tell a lot by a person's voice. So I've jotted down your email address, and it's always good. Thank you, Melissa, for inviting her to have someone that is already gone where we're trying to go. And so I feel a connection spirit that at some point in the future that I should reach out to you, if for just to have a conversation. My company is called Just Be Happy, and we have a lot of
Aw.
different products. We're on the internet, and at this point in the natural, we're not at $1 million. So I won't waste your time having that conversation about being ready to export. But I'm a visionary, and I'm sure that be at that point at some point. And you're definitely somebody that I want to reach out and have that conversation with.
Thank you. Thank you so much. One of the things, Melissa, I forgot to mention that I do, and it's really working good. I match up my clients together. I have several clients that are working together right now. Like right now, I have this one client. He gets argan oil from Morocco, and I had another client who has like over 100 barrels of lavender oil she's trying to get rid of. And I kind of matched them two together. He does a lot of business in Saudi Arabia. And that is something that I think I'm more proud of than anything. Bringing people together so that they can work together. Anytime I hear it, like today, I got a client today, he does a lot with the military. And he says, well, Lisa, I'm already exporting, but I reached out to you. I'm not sure how you can help me because I'm already exporting and I'm doing a lot of business with the federal government. And so immediately I thought about one of my clients. So that's what I do. I make sure that I know my clients and what they do. So when I get those intake forms, I really look at them, because when something comes up, I'll say, okay, this is how I'm going to help you. I have a client I'm going to introduce you to for a potential business collaboration. Now, I'm not sure if it's going to work, but in my mind, you guys have synergy, and I want to introduce you. That is something that I do that I'm probably more proud of than anything, because we've got to get these companies working together, because again, you and I know what our export numbers look like, and that makes no sense. It really doesn't, as big as the US is.
Hi, first of all, thank you. This has been very informative. My question to Lisa is, if you're not $1 million business, does that mean that you're not ready to work with me yet? The reason why I ask is because a couple of things that you said, I've already started to see happening. For one, I bid the first contract in Mali. I haven't heard the results yet, but I think that they liked it because I immediately got sort of a follow-up, please bid on this opportunity too. And that was really interesting that they immediately followed up right after I sent the first bid. The second thing that I wanted to ask both you and Melissa, a lot of my bid documents are coming in French, do either of you guys know of anybody, a service or anybody that I can connect with that I can translate my documents? Because right now I'm using Google Translation and it's sort of not always great. So do you have anything that you can help me with on that?
So let me ask first. Casey, we know anybody that's a French speaker?
You asking me?
Yeah, I'll cop to being the French speaker.
Case is Canadian.
Okay. Okay, well, great, because I'm already working with Case. I didn't know that, but I thought of that today. So that's great,
But
because,
we will look for a service because you
Yeah,
do
we
want
do.
to, we'll have a service for you that can do that.
Yeah.
okay, because when I did Shopify, they just did my numbers, the dollar amounts.
Mhm.
But they did not do the actual language, the description of the products, and that sort of didn't work. But going back to Lisa and the relationship thing, I think that was really important to me because that's actually what I'm seeing in doing these contracts. I'm working with the UN right now, so I'm not actually, I'm giving them what they want to buy. I'm not selling them a particular product that I have. I'm doing supply kits and emergency kits. So it's basically everything that you know, soaps, underwear, all sorts of things. So in some cases, one particular kit was all stainless steel food products. So basically what I'm finding is if I can get somebody to help me with things like how do you talk to these folks overseas, I think that would be helpful for me.
Knowing, and that's something I don't think I touched on, but that's another thing too. I study the culture. You study the culture in order to do business with people overseas. Just like when foreigners come into this country, they know us. When they get here, they know us better than we know ourselves.
Mhm.
But it's sad to say, but they know everything about us. So I guess what I want to ask you is, you're doing the buying for the UN. You're bidding on, I guess, some projects or contracts. But are you directly dealing with the end user, or are you dealing with the UN? I think
Directly
you're
with
saying
the end user,
so.
the
So what do
countries
you
themselves.
right? So what do you mean by how do I talk to them? What is going on? What is going on that you can't talk to them? Is it a language barrier or is
Pretty
it a
much.
culture?
No. It's
Oh,
pretty much a language barrier. And I was just wondering, because you had worked with so many different countries, did you ever run into that where
I
it was a
didn't.
language barrier? Okay.
I didn't, because most of the people that I like when you go to Africa, everybody knows how to speak English. The Caribbean, most of the islands are, they speak English. Especially when people want to do business with Americans, they usually know how to speak English.
Even if
Um,
even if their documents are in a different language, like don't be put off by that, is what I'm saying to you.
well, how is the money though? How are you getting paid, or you haven't done it yet?
I'm bidding, so I don't know the
Because
results yet.
the one thing, right, you don't know the results yet. Um, the one thing that I didn't speak about that we were very good about doing when we did business overseas, we always had someone in that country to work in our behalf. I don't care where we conducted business, we always set up whereas we met someone, and we get that person from the US Embassy. They
Right.
would have to be registered with one of the US embassies.
Right.
So we would hire someone overseas to work on our behalf. If we needed someone to check on shipment for us, if we needed someone to be there when the shipment got there. I don't care where we conducted business, we had someone. So you may want to see if the embassy in France can align you with someone who speaks English. You might have to pay them, or or C, you might have to pay them, but
See,
And
I don't
then
mind
then,
that.
then the other part, Monica, is so Mali is a francophone country, right? So one of the things you're going to find in international business, and these are some of the things when we teach on we have a cultural competency component, is about English is the language of international business, but French is also considered an international language because the French refuse to capitulate and accept English.
they sure do.
Oh, they refuse to do it. Every international organization you will ever find will always be in English and French because the French, it's a francophone. They refuse to do that. So one of the things that's important for your process is, for example, in Mali, is for you to work with the embassy. So as you go through your process and working with CASE, what you're going to do is actually look at the contracts, have those contracts translated, because you have to make sure that the contracts are written in English and in French. It can't just, well, we don't just do it in one language. Let me say it like that. We make sure that the contracts are in both languages. And one of the things that we do is that we review the contracts for you or help you to have the contracts reviewed. But when you are, you go to the US Embassy in Mali and you work through them in order to talk about the bid that you're making, because they have relationships with these different government offices and relationships with different businesses. So instead of trying to do it by yourself, here's the impact of the difference. You bidding and them giving you a response is excellent. When you go through the embassy, it's the you and the US government who is bidding. And you have all of the power of the US government behind you. And so there are steps that you have to take for that, which will show you what to do. And then also, as Lisa was saying, taking advantage of actually going to the country, because the great thing about the Gold Key service, if you want to go to Mali, this is what we help you organize through the US Commercial Services, is you can set up the opportunity for them to find you not one contract, not one potential partner, but 5 potential partners. So it could be the one you already have, plus 4 others. And then we organize for you to go hop on a plane, go in country. The embassy has recommendations on hotels. The embassy has recommendations on security, on drivers, on getting you an interpreter. And they will, listen to this, go with you to all 5 of these meetings. They will assign somebody to physically sit with you in all 5 of these meetings. And generally, that person is an English, and when they're in Francophone countries, it can either be the State Department or the Commerce, but basically their job is they will sit there and support you throughout the process. And then you can talk to the interpreter about what it is that you're looking for. And so it's a much, you know, I'm not saying that you have to use the government to do business. You don't have to do that. But what we stress is that you pay your tax dollars for these people to sit there. And it'll cost you $950 for this service. And depending on the state that you're in, you can get up to 75% reimbursed for covering your hotel, your flight. They won't cover your food. And then also you can get reimbursement for part of that $950, depending on where you live. So it takes steps, it takes structure, it's not overnight. But as Lisa said, it's very lucrative when you go through the steps. And since you already have this relationship in Mali, if you take these steps, then what we would help you to do is to get to the next level and get closer to closing on that contract. And then once you get that first contract, then you're rolling from there.
I appreciate it. Thank you.
You know what, Monica, my concern was you not understanding the documents. It's like, show me the money. You know what I mean? It's like, how do you know? Like us on our invoice documents, we always have must be paid in USD. You don't want them paying you. It's important for you to understand those documents and
Well,
make sure that.
What I did, it's basically the dollars are in both. They're in USD and they're in I think they call it CAF. Central African francs. So it's in both currencies,
Why? No, how are you gonna get paid?
in dollars.
Yeah, okay, so you know that for sure.
Yes.
Calling you.
Okay,
I'm like, dang, I forgot how days has changed.
The agency is UNICEF. That's who I'm working with, UNICEF.
UNICEF
Right,
based in
okay.
Mali?
Yeah.
Okay, okay.
And that's why I chose it, because I picked something that was had stature and had a reputation. I didn't just pick some agency. I picked somebody that has some strength.
right, okay. And I like how I mean, Melissa and I both have said, most of the exporting I did trade missions, and because I'm a woman and I traveled with the federal government, the administration-led type, you know, trade missions, because I felt comfort in that. Whereas my husband, being from another country, he just jumped on the plane and go. I wasn't that bold. And so I like how you are working with the UN and the UNICEF, because as a woman, you have to feel protected. Now, after I built a relationship with these buyers, then I would go overseas. I remember going to Zambia and then taking a little plane with the pilot reached back to me and gave me a juice box and a pack of crackers. I was scared to death in that plane. But that's how small the plane was. And we flew up to the Copperbelt, to another Solwezi, I think it was, in Zambia. And I flew by myself that time after I met these guys on a trade mission. They're like, Lisa, come. And I went to Zambia and they took care of me. So going over there, it's a must. And that's how you get more business.
Okay, so good. So that way I'll open up spiritually to that, because as a woman, I was concerned about going by myself. So thank you for that. I really appreciate that.
But you remember, there's power in a handshake. They want to see you. People do business with people they like and trust. So they have to see you. And I think it's more, people in other countries are more in tune with wanting to see you face to face than we are here. But overseas, they really want that connection. They want to know that they trust you. And you can't do that over the internet.
Okay, great. Thank you so much.
You're welcome.
Okay, awesome. All right, so it's 8:35. So are there any other questions for Lisa tonight? Any other questions anybody else may have? And Lisa, your contact information is in the chat.
Yes, for me and Veronica, both of
For
our.
Veronica, yes, both. Okay,
Yeah.
awesome.
Well,
Thank you so much.
Go ahead, William.
I was just letting Miss Lisa know that I really enjoyed listening to her. And it
Thank
was
you.
very inspirational. I did have a brief meeting with Tommy Marks, and he brought your name up. And
I like Tommy. Tell Tommy
Yeah.
I said hello.
okay, Melissa.
Yes, I like Tommy.
Melissa, I was watching the videos, and that's how I found him.
Okay.
But anyway, y'all gonna have to work with me a lot, because I haven't quite figured out what my product is. I've been a successful business in DC, several $1 million a year business, but I was the CEO of a mental health system, which called a core service agency, and it was also in Prince George's County as well. But I saw a big disconnect in DC with the murders and the shootings. And I started to look at my mental health system, and it wasn't connecting, and it was not servicing the people. And I started to respond to shootings, and I became very well known throughout the city. And after a year or so of doing that work and responding to the sites and going to the homes and working with Councilman White in District 4 in Prince George's County, after a year or so, I realized that I was responding to a woman every time. She got the call. She had to go identify the body. She had to put the funeral together, so on and so forth. And that's what led me to write the model. And that model has extended to mass shootings, and it's extended to child slave labor. And so my journey with the Democratic Republic of the Congo came from the model, and then it moved into business. And so because the model was very comprehensive and it has 9 pillars, I haven't quite figured out what my product is. So I'm going to need a lot of assistance in that particular area. But the
It
business,
may not be a product, it may be
Yeah.
a service.
Mhm.
Because exporting is a product and a
And the
service.
right.
So-
yeah, and I looked at it. I've had psychiatrists. I've had psychiatrists, psychologists, licensed clinical social workers, etc. But I'm very disappointed in behavior health, and it does not satisfy that service. You have to have very unique people who are not revenue centered to help. Right now, I'm meeting with congressmen on Capitol Hill on child slave labor, and even there's no focus on the families and the women who these babies 4 years old and up. And I'm dealing with the cell phone industry and the lithium and all this kind of stuff. And so the more I get involved with the Democratic Republic of the Congo, I get quiet because people are talking business, but they can't see where nobody's talking about the children.
Mhm.
In the cell phone industry, the lithium and coltan and Elon Musk and all these batteries, the children are slaves. Starting at 4 years old, and it's on YouTube. And 6 kids came to DC and met at the Supreme Court. And they brought charges against Nestle, Mars, and Hershey. And the Supreme Court ruled for Nestle, Mars, and Hershey. And so I have to find a balance between zipping my mouth, sticking to business, and then to try to deal with the kids in a different way.
So William, I mean, one of the things, you started the process of watching the videos and doing the trainings, right? And so I think as you go through this process, you'll find your way. You know, as you go through the process and you learn the materials, and then you're a part of the Meet webinars every month. And every month we're bringing different examples of people who have done what it is that we want to do in different industries. We try to really be diverse in terms of showing the breadth of what we're doing around the world. I think you'll find your way. I think you will definitely find your way as you continue to go through the process, because exporting, it's a whole different world. It's a whole different language, you know, that's onto itself. And I think you'll find your way in that way.
Okay.
You know, William, you're on the right path, because the one thing that I do say, when people say, hey, I don't know what to export, I don't know what to do, most people reach back to what they did in the past. They reach back to, like yourself, you reach back to the industry in which you work. Think about it, truckers, most truckers who have their own trucking business used to work for a trucker. That's how it works. They find a way to start their business based on what they did in the past, but they also have some type of added value. So just think about adding value to what you did in your successful business. Some kind of way, try to think, how can I beg to differ? What is going to separate me and make me different from what maybe your competitor was doing, or add value to what you were doing domestic and apply it to what you'd like to do international. Just do a little soul searching.
It'll come.
It'll come to you, like Melissa said.
It will. Okay, awesome. Any other questions for anyone tonight? No? Well, oh, go
I
ahead.
am on the phone. I am on the phone. I don't know if you can hear me.
We can. What's your name?
My name is Monica Ashley.
Oh, hi, Monica.
Hi, I had a hard time connecting to Zoom, so I did use the phone. So, I'm from Tanzania, East Africa, and I do the other way around. I bring stuff from Tanzania to sell here,
Mhm.
but I was interested in bringing things from here to Tanzania. There are products that people need over there or services, but it's always been an issue to get people, especially on the services part. And also, how do I go about if I were to bring products like cosmetics
So
to my own country?
what type of, okay, so cosmetics, that's one that you're looking for. Well, let me ask you, do you
Yes.
have a US company incorporated here?
Yes, I do have. I don't know if I call a company. I do have a shop that I sell African products online, and also I have a location on a big, a sizable location. Yeah,
What state are you in?
I'm in Wisconsin.
Okay. And your business is registered?
Yes.
Okay, in the state. Okay, so and if you have a registered business, so let me be
Yes.
clear, you're looking for American companies that want to sell their products in Tanzania.
In Tanzania or invest in Tanzania. That's one.
Mhm.
And two, how can I myself go about here in America to like the whole the basics of exports from say America to Tanzania. For me, it's easy because that's my country. I have people on the ground. Like the stuff that I'm bringing here,
Mhm.
I have people over there working for me, and they do the sewing and everything and ship, and then I receive on this end.
Mhm.
Yeah.
And so other than cosmetics, what are some other products or services you would want to export to Tanzania?
For instance, over there, I forgot the name of the brother who talked about psychology. Over there, we don't really have psychologists. Kids go through trauma in different ways, especially the raping part of it. They don't even know that there's such thing as trauma, that someone needs counseling to be able to cope with the situation they've encountered. That's just
Mhm.
one example.
So William was talking about providing mental health services for
Mhm.
children. So are you saying that is a service that you would be interested in
Exactly.
exporting? Wow, look at that synergy. That's amazing. That synergy is amazing because now, William,
Mhm.
didn't we just tell you you'll find your way?
Well,
So
I'm glad she said psychologists instead of licensed clinical social workers, because they won't go across the street in DC. They step over the body.
Well, but here's the thing that I would tell you, Monica, is so exporting products and services, that's what we help companies do in Black and Global. So you can reach out to us. Ralph, if you can put our contact information for the contact form. And you can fill this form out, and then our team can follow up with you. And then William, if you wouldn't mind putting your information in the chat, and you can follow up with William as well, because when you're saying that you want to assist with this type of service, this is exactly what Lisa was talking about with the collaboration and putting companies together in this way. So if, for example, you have relationships in Tanzania that you know could utilize these services, William has the contacts in order to deliver the services. And so something like that you could easily work through the embassy in Tanzania, and they could help you to work with the different potential partners you have on the ground, and the two of you can collaborate and work with the embassy there together in order to do a pilot program. Like, for example, one of the companies we saw, they had a product that they wanted to do. I don't think that was in Tanzania. I want to say it was in Zambia, where they wanted to do a summer program. They had a longer term vision, but the way they started it was through a summer program, and they did it for 6 weeks. And through that 6-week program, they were able to implement the service that they wanted to implement. But it was a small project that has grown into being in many different countries offering this service. So that's, I think that would be a great collaboration between the two of you, and you all can work together. And then the way we could support you at Black and Global is we could help you with contacting the embassy and working through all of the different agencies. And let me tell you, in Wisconsin, because there are not a lot of us, there are a ton of resources. Like in some states, you may get $5,000 in order to export. In Wisconsin, it's $25,000. Wisconsin, Utah, $25,000. And if you go to one of their training programs, they have a training program, and you have to compete for it. But if you get selected for it, they will do $150,000 over 6 years.
Melissa, I don't want you to leave me out of this. You know, I service e-commerce businesses with my Ship Black. So if she had other individuals there in Tanzania that had products and wanted to sell them, you know, and get them to the US to sell, you know, online, you know, that's what we do at Ship Black. We house those products and then we ship them out. That way they can make money, you know, in US dollars and get those over there back to the communities there in Africa and really make a difference. So yeah, that's one of our biggest advertisers.
There's a lot
William,
of that.
And the what is the lady name that's from Tanzania?
Monica.
Monica, so do you have any contacts? Because I have contacts, and I know a woman-owned business, and she's connected with other women businesses. If you guys need a contact in Tanzania, do you need that?
No, I mean, that's my home. I go every year.
Right.
So I know a lot of people.
Okay.
Almost every region.
Yeah, because we've done business in Tanzania too. We've had some really good partners in Tanzania also.
Oh, really? Where in Tanzania?
What's the capital? I can't remember.
No, I mean, Dodoma is the capital.
Dar es Salaam. Yeah, Dar es Salaam.
The commercial city is Dar es Salaam.
Right, Dar es Salaam.
Okay.
Yeah, one of the guys that we did business with, he passed away during COVID, and his wife is running the business, and she's doing very well. So anytime and she works with other women business organizations. So anytime I need to connect her with somebody, I do have a resource there. But since you're from there, that's good. So whatever you need me to do.
Okay. And Tiffany, could you repeat, because we're going to share this with different people, with everyone who signed up. So can you repeat what it is that you do so that everybody can understand and how they can benefit from Ship Black?
Yes, Melissa. So at Ship Black, we're a fulfillment center. And so you think about it just like Amazon. We actually house products there and pack and mail and ship them when the orders come online. So we're a fulfillment center. One of the biggest things that individuals have is looking for a place, especially when they're trying to scale and to get to the levels that we're talking about, being able to export and import, like Lisa said, making that $1 million in sales. You're going to need storage. You're going to need the automation, inventory management, and different AIs and software, EDI software. So we specialize in those things and help these businesses grow. And then we also have an education component. Well, now I actually start teaching people who's looking for what they call side hustles, or just looking for extra income or e-commerce business. We actually teach them everything with the packing and shipping. I use my background, my 20 years with the United States Postal Service. So I have that consulting and teaching component where I'm really honing in on individuals who want that education, as well as just providing jobs. We have an apprenticeship program as well. And so we actually not only teaching warehousing and fulfillment and distribution, but then we also providing jobs on that other end. And we want to take that internationally so that as more warehouses and infrastructure is sustained overseas, they can have, workers, experienced workers in those warehouses.
Okay, awesome. Okay, and Tiffany, so I put in the chat blackgreen.com, and I want you to check out their website, because they are a group of, I think it's 93 Black artisans who sell products, skin cream, hair products, all of that, and they do fulfillment. They put all of their products in one different fulfillment centers around the country, and then they have companies to ship them out. So if you can work with them, that would be something that would be awesome as well, because they're looking to start exporting. So that's another great resource for you. Okay, we have 5 minutes left, and Monica, we're going to take you as the last question. Go ahead.
Just wanted to ask Tiffany really quick, where is your warehouse located?
I'm located in Houston, but
Okay,
of course,
thanks.
I service clients all over, Canada, China, Africa, wherever. So that warehouse location, as long as we get the products to the warehouse, we ship them internationally.
Can you also do domestic shipping?
Yeah, I do domestic. Yeah, I specialize in domestic. It's just,
Okay.
we don't have anyone that has a large audience overseas. Just, when they come periodically overseas, we do is shipping using the major mailers like, DHL, United States Postal Service, FedEx, what have you. So it's not any specialty shipping overseas, but we do service some of those individuals who have audience and customers overseas.
Okay, I'm gonna put my information in the chat so that we can chat.
Yes, ma'am.
Thank you.
Well, this is awesome. This is why we are here. This is what we do.
I love this part.
We are definitely here to work together and to support each other. And I just think this is an amazing opportunity for us to serve. So we really want to thank you all for joining us tonight. And Lisa, thank you. And thank you, for Veronica, for joining us and sharing your knowledge, your wisdom, your experience.
Thank you, everyone.
An example for us of where we can get to be 7-figure businesses. We're going to put Lisa's face up. This is where we're going, to be 7-figure businesses. All right.
Thank you, everyone. Thank you for listening. This is truly my passion, and I'm happy to share any stories. I got 19 years worth of stories, so let's go.
Wonderful. Thank you.
All right,
Good
everyone.
night.
Wow,
Thank
thanks
you.
for having us.
Thank you,
Good
everyone.
night. God
Bye.
bless.
Good
Thank
night.
you.
Thank you.